Here we go with another Fix My List as we get stuck in with all of our local gets. Welcome, the Great Wall. As if you're here for the first time, what this is our version of fixing our list, but we do it for the channel members generally. That way it's easier for me to filter who's in, who's out. The person will send me what they want their core of their list to be and remain to be. They'll send me what they actually own, what they have painted, what they have to be built, etc. And from there, I'll construct the list based off what they possibly want and their ambitions. So sometimes the gets are mighty cunning and looking to be 5-0, and sometimes they're just people that are looking to have a good time. Of course, in the Great Wall, we got time for both y'all gets. So today I have two lists. And the stream's going strong. Maybe I'll fit in more real time from people who are on, or maybe after this, I'm going to do an actual hobby stream. So you, if you're here live, interact with that poll I put out so I know what to do, because we all got to see how we're gonna get working here. So they sent me a list, we talked it out. Generally, if you're in Fix My List, I actually will do like a good Discord call with you or some kind of verbal communication with you. If I can't, it'll be via message. So these people did, at least for the most part, get to hear what I was trying to do and my ideas going in. So I actually want to start with a little bit of more of a meta chase with this get, because this was the most recent conversation that I had. And shout out to the chat, because this is live, so make sure I enter chat with everybody. But we're gonna give a shout out to Gaspacho, which is hilarious. His name is Gaspacho. That was excellent how that worked. But let me say what's up to chat real quick while you guys look on screen for what his list is, and I'll read out what his list is and how we're gonna change it. So Michael Gomes said, "I'm excited for this one. I'm to be happy to share some of my list if needed. Currently on a 6-game losing streak with my buddy." Well, you do seem to be a channel member, sir. So remember, if you're a channel member, you can be on Fix My List generally. So let's see if we have time. But you should, if you're here now, hit me up either on Facebook or Discord. Tell me where to look for your message. And then maybe near the end of this, I'll go and check you out and look over your list live with everybody, okay? So I'm glad you left a comment so we can get stuck in with you, lad. Let me know, Michael Goman, so we can get what's going on with your Waaagh, because Orks is never beaten. And then shout out to Arcane Asylum, the Weird Boy. We got Lucas. We got a good amount of chat people here, so interact with that poll so I know what we're doing later. What's up, Brandon? Whoa, Taurus. We got Molly. What's up for the revolution? Oh, fighting Fedora. I haven't seen you in a hot minute, boy. All right, so let's start with Gaspacho and what he's cooking with, because Gaspacho's been hitting events. He's looking to do great. He plays in one of those really meaty metas where people are bringing thick data sheets, stat checking him, bringing all the typical meta bullied lists, and he just finds that he's bringing what's known to Orks and what he's also familiar with, which is more of a cunning kind of dissecting style of play where he'll play KG and really try to choose his interactions well before fully going into a commitment. But he's stuck on Warhorde, which is fine because we all love Warhorde around here. So let's talk about his list, what he likes about it, what he wanted to keep, and then some of my positive critiques, some of my negative critiques, and then how we actually changed it, right? And long live la revolution. That's funny. I actually have shout out to Baron of Dice. This is the sponsor, Baron of Dice. Check them out, 5% off in the discount for the description, Animal Tactics dice. But I actually have the Revolution dice, Viva la Revolution dice, and I use those all the time when I play Dread Mob. There's just something about when I'm playing Dread Mob in my head. It's like a grot-based army. And I always like put Zod, and I always have cans or like something in there that makes me feel like I'm that's my version of the Grot Revolution. So shout out to those kids. And that's funny. Brandon saying, I want my Def Killer with the Def Killers has been showing out for a hot minute. I know you've been on them for a long time. Let's look at Gaspacho's list, because I think a lot of us can relate to it, appreciate it, and then see some of the same consistencies we've been looking at through all of 40K out there right now. So he has 2 beast bosses, no enhancements. He has triple war bosses. One of them is the Warlord, and then he has a boss Snikra, followed by 2 10-man Snegas, 2 10-man Boys, 5 trucks. He went full on parking lot. Let's go. He went 3 Breaker Boy units, followed by 3 Flash Gits units, a Def Copta, and then a Gretchen unit. So he's trying to feel the pull for the Def Coptas. He loves to bring a big 20-man brick of Gretchen. That way he can screen his entire backfield, try to draw out a Call the Horde to be a dead card, and then also sometimes he'll throw them up the field a little bit more of the late game. So what I like about his list is the redundancy, as we like to see. We've seen people that are world-class players that are taking this to team events that are playing this kind of similar archetype. So there's nothing actually wrong with this archetype per se. But what there is that when you're just bringing the same kind of tools, there's no diversity in tool sets, really. So you're not going to have like mob boys playing the middle to really turn off primary. You're not going to be playing with too much speed other than the boys and the trucks themselves. And you're really looking for that one turn of backbreaking wall. You don't have too many units out here that are looking to be too killy outside of the wall, which is typical for Orks, kind of our weak side with Warhorde, this is one of those lists that can be baited into early walls, which is something he said he struggled with and was actually kind of annoying, which is why he added Snick Rot. One of the things that we talked about here is that do you actually want Snick Rot? And because he doesn't have a lot of DACA, he wanted to bring Snick Rot because bringing some tank busters wasn't really in his cup of tea per se, and I'm totally understanding of that. I'm someone to myself that doesn't love the tank busters on your list, and I don't think they're necessarily needed when you're having this much redundancy. And I see chat starting to talk about it too. And so this person was, he was saying, well, I want to keep the style of KG bully. You have to meet me in the middle. If you're going to go for my trucks, you have to get drawn out into a lane that's close enough for me to smash into. And with that being said, it's kind of like one of those things where in the current meta where Orks are at, yes, we can punch up. We can totally annihilate people when they don't see us coming. We can give them that spine-crushing blow on the wall where you make contact with the multitude of their units. But it's also the issue is if we start losing our assets a little too early, one of these trucks gets popped and then the SWAT team ends up getting cleaned up. Now you've lost one of those assets that you very much needed for the spine-crushing activation, because it's not always just the fact that you've crushed the enemy when you've hit them. It's that in the response that they've taken to you to try to clean you up, you can fight on death. Your unit might actually stay alive for a little bit longer because you did a hard as nails and you have a 5-up invul and you have so many bodies on the field. So in that line, it's still like 100 bodies. That's a stat check. So you kind of want all of that going at once. Your offense is your defense, and the fact that you have so much stuff. So in this case, when I was looking at the list, I wanted to bring down his bulk. I wasn't really necessarily wanting to I wasn't wanting to give him DACA, right? I didn't want to bring him DACA because I didn't want to try to gut his list in that way, because he already has breakers for that high damage 3. And he has beast boys that are kind of like that diversity higher for damage into vehicles, infantry, whatever it may be. So they're really diverse, very useful in that. Death copters are cool, not necessarily my thing. So when I was looking at this, I was looking to 1, lower the amount of trucks by a little bit if I could. 2, I wanted something that was maybe looking to play the mid-table a little bit more. And 3, I kind of just wanted a little bit more speed assets that weren't necessarily just trucks on the field. And I still just wanted a lot of stuff. Now, me and him went back and forth on like, am I going to bring a 20-man unit of boys, for example, or 20-man snaggas, or a battle wagon? Am I going to bring Zod? These were all things that we contemplated. So we contemplated DACA. We contemplated more mobs of boys, stuff like that as well. So these were all things that were taken into consideration. But he was telling me in his particular meta, he's dealing with Tyrannid players that are bringing Norn emissaries. He's bringing people that are bringing multi-knights, people that are bringing big bricks of Deathwing Knights, people that are really bringing the stat checks out of him, whether they're bringing tanks and stuff like that. And so he still wanted the breakers, but he didn't necessarily want the guns that are just hoping to come out in a non-DACA profile in detachment. No really benefit to playing them, and then kind of getting just blown away and him losing assets on that. And then he didn't want a 20-man unit of boys because they are, you have to structure the list too much around them for them to actually be able to work in the way that he wanted them to, and you pay for the battle wagon. So it was actually hard to really adjust Gaspacho's list. That's funny that we need 3 tank buses as well. No. And we have Michael, put them in, send them to me in a DM so I have you directly, okay, for your list that we get to. Now I actually want to see what chat has to say real quick before I show off how I change this list. Not too much, because like I said, I'll fix my list. There's things I want to keep in respect from the player's list, and me and the player spoke for at least 30 minutes while I was trying to also talk to him out on this. So we made sure that he wanted to keep Snickrot. He said Snickrot was scoring him a lot of points. In some games, he knows like against World Eaters, either he's going to let him just die and use him as bait, or he's going to put him in his backfield to keep him safe. So his understanding of Snickrot was efficient enough that I felt comfortable that he, if he wanted to keep a Snickrot, he could. But he also was fine dropping him. And personally, I think Snickrot costs a little bit too much. So before I show my list, I will say that I thought his list was already quite solid. We've already seen a lot of versions of this list already existing in the meta, doing moderately well. He does have good units of boys to kind of run out and cycle. He has a little bit of fly with the Kaptas, but Thorn Boy is a little bit more diverse. The ability to draw on a dead card, and then a little bit of flash kits. So I thought it was fine. Also, if you are going to keep this list, I would keep Snickrot as my warlord. That way, if I go into knights, at least I don't, Imperial Knights specifically, I don't give up that feel no pain early game into them. So even that minor tweak, if you decide you want to keep playing your list, that's totally fine too, but we changed it just a little bit because I think that his list was fine if you're playing something similar to this. And I like some of the suggestions from chat, because I think we did need a little bit of change to it. So I changed his list just slightly, but it was something that I actually thought I actually liked, and he decided he enjoyed too. So we ended up deciding that he wasn't going to be all talk. If he was going to call himself Gaspacho, he was going to bring gas, which is actually controversial. Controversial because I'm also someone that says, gas is very expensive, doesn't necessarily deliver every time you need him to. And he's slow and kind of bulky, and right now how Warlord can be played is a lot of assets, and you just don't kill me fast enough based off all these assets, right? But when we were talking about what his style of play was, which was back-breaking damage, wanting to still control the center mid-table, and he just felt like he was falling off just a little bit on his damage delivery with all these units, right? He felt like his snaggles were barely falling out of hitting hard enough. The breaker boys were falling barely out enough. But we also added some more things in here, and then I'll tell him what I also suggested that he didn't like, that we thought about adding into the list that he said no as well. So we still have 2 beast bosses and then 3 war bosses, because that was like a foundational core of his list that I thought, hey, we're going to keep that. He really likes it. They're very reliable on Warhorde. Love it. Let's just keep it for now. I think Breaker Boys, because your armies have -1 to hit, you might even need the Breaker Boys to hit elite infantry. The War Boss giving the volume of punches at his strength threshold helps them a lot. And for the low volume attacks, like their hammers actually get off on elite infantry too, or vehicles and monsters, whatever. If you need to punch up. So I pay for the War Bosses, right? Some people will tell you you don't need to pay for them. Just bring them. Not necessarily wrong, but when I'm using them, I'm bringing them all day long with a War Boss. Then I still was able to keep one of the boy units. I like having at least a 10-man unit of boys. They're going to come, they're going to stick you something maybe. They're going to run around in a truck. They're going to get in the fight early. They're going to throw a grenade, whatever it may be. Then we did drop one of his trucks. We discussed a battle wagon or not. When you have 5 trucks, you're pretty much always going to lose one every game, early game. It comes down to like one of those things where people will bring like 3 trucks and 3 kill rigs, and they're like, yep, just because I know some's getting popped, now you got to choose, and everything else gets to advance forward very linear. And since he's not doing that, since he wasn't really willing to bring kill rigs in that case, and like saturate the field with just pretty tough vehicles everywhere and cheap stuff everywhere, which is the other style of this Warhorde, he wanted to keep the back spine crushing damage. Well, then we're going to tune a little bit more into that. And you're going to be a little bit more reliable on that. And we're going to decrease your deployment profile a little bit easier. That way you don't lose assets as easy or as early. So still 4 trucks, even though he didn't go for 5. I think Warhorde plays perfectly fine even with 3 trucks. 4 is where I find myself often bringing them. Still brought the 3 Breaker Boys. And we'll talk about the alternative to that. You can see he only has 2 flash kits on this list instead of 3. A lot of the time I think 2 flash kits usually is the good enough job. The third is a little bit like, okay, I'm just paying it for it because I'm playing for the SWAT team. And remember, you still do have the boys on this list. Then he only plays for 2 Mega Knobs. Here I have the Power Claw, and you can go Power Claw and Kill Saw if you're playing with Gaz because it's +1 hit, +1 to wound. We did downsize the Gretchen to just one unit because we have to just fit the points really for the most part. We did find units of a Stormboy unit and a Warbiker unit. So I know he had a Def Cop to the last. I still kind of tune a little bit in favor of bringing a Stormboy for the scoring and mobility part of it. And then I brought a Warbiker unit, which he liked as well, because he said, well, the -1 AP and the Power Claw tend to do a little bit more favorable in Warhorde. And if I have to run up, act as a screen, get in a skirmish. So here you have boys, then you have something that doesn't need a truck, which is the Warbikers themselves, which are going to run up and get in the way. The Flash Gits that can run up and get in the way and still interact as well. Followed by all the damage backbreaking units followed behind it where he really liked. Now, what I did offer him was, what about a 10-man unit of knobs? What about a 20-man unit of anything really, right? Boys, snaggers. What about those? Because you need something that's going to live more off gas. Ultimately, we concluded that usually the Snagga boys are pretty valuable in appreciating that punch from the volume and from the fact that they're a big unit and they're going to be near gas. But sometimes it's really just the Breaker Boys themselves and Gaz being able to just respect the mid-table. Gaz is one of those units that, sure, there are going to be high-level players that understand that Gaz isn't really that intimidating, and that can happen too. But when you do put them in tandem with the Breaker Boys and the Snaggas, then they are intimidating enough that they have to be accounted for. But I was telling him, instead of the Breaker Boy unit, and if you're someone who's looking at this list, you could drop the Breaker Boy unit and the Warbiker unit, and then you can add it as a 10-man knob unit instead of the third Breaker Boy unit. But in this case, you could argue that you put the Breaker Boy unit in reserve and he acts as your rapid ingress target, that third Breaker Boy unit, or comes in from reserves with the re-rolling charge. And remember, if he is in reserves, you can pop Here We Go on him before he comes in, so then he can be getting +2 to that charge, re-rolling it if you couldn't pay for the ingress. But if you're going to pop Here We Go, chances are maybe you had an ingress anyway, so that's not really like a great, maybe you just didn't have it turn before, but we're just talking it out. Now, if you were just saying, well, wild tactics, why wouldn't you just go to the other side of the spectrum of just more trash and more stuff? He already had that kind of style, as you can see on his past list, of where he at least kind of had more boys units and Flash Gits and Breaker Boys and more trucks. And he was just finding that he was still kind of just getting picked up too easily and too efficiently early and having forced a wall drawn out of him. This list allows him to actually be a little bit safer and then choose little targets that are very specific for the job that they're going out to do. A Stormboy very specifically is going to run out, and Stormboy Jr. is going to run out and score a secondary. A Warbike is just tough enough to move around and play the early game access. 2 5-man Flash Gits are just enough to act as a skirmish, shooting, get in the way type of unit, but not oversaturation in the DACA. So I thought this was a little bit more moderated, not as many trucks either. And the biggest contention to ever that I always say about this list is, once you bring Gaz on the field, like we're talking about in chat right now, a 20-man unit of boys goes a long way. It was just one of those factors where if you have that 20-man unit, then it is the utmost importance that that 20-man unit has to make contact with something, and so does Gaz, and he didn't really want to play that style. So because I was able to make conversation with people, that's the benefit to Fix My List, is then I can say, well, this is more of his style. He wants the bone-crushing damage, so we lead into the bone-crushing damage he gets. And ultimately, he said he liked it. Shout out to our boy Gaspacho in the chat, because I think he's right here anyways. Boom. Gaspacho the boast. He said, whoa, thanks for helping me with the Warhorde. Like I said, you had a great list anyways. Like its foundation was pretty solid anyways. And some of the suggestions in chat are totally solid too. You want a Def Killer Word Trike, it's Feel No Pain. If you're really set on, I need something with good OC that's going to survive and kind of act more as bait instead of your Snickra, the Def Killer Word Trike's cool in that way also. And we talked about knobs. He just didn't want knobs. Knobs are awesome, like for their output and taking care of Gaz and then running on 5s. But then you're looking for the perfect target on them, and sometimes you just don't have them. And yes, 20-man boys with the with the war boss and a wagon is very, very good. And then it's also depending on meta. He felt like personally he wasn't getting off with it. I love 20 boy units like we talk about, the meat and potatoes of the wall, right? So now let's move on. Thank you to that, to the second list, which is my boy Garth. So Garth and I actually didn't get to talk too much directly, like we did in chat, but I didn't get to like have a phone conversation with him because he's in the UK. So, and I also do have you right now in the chat to my get. Let me say, doop doop doop. We're talking in chat right now. If we get a third, we might get a third list in here. You get, because we do this live, and make sure you reply Mondays. But for Garth, he said he had a limited collection. Not that I'm not making fun of nobody here. This isn't to put no one's business out there. He had a more limited collection, not in a bad way, as in he was realistic on like what he had to paint, what he had built up, stuff like that, which is why we do this. This is the benefit of this. I actually know what you have built, what you have unpainted. That way, if I suggest something that you own, but it's unbuilt, I don't ask for too much of that into your list and stuff like that. And then he said, I'm really not worried about what we're playing. That's funny. He said, any tactics list for Fix My List today? No, but almost, because what I was going to say is Garth was someone who was considering playing a tactical brigade list. He said, well, I want to play Warhorde, like tactical brigade, but I really don't have any restrictions on what detachment I play. Here are the models I own, you know, and so this is what we're going to do. And so this is his first list, right? Yeah, making sure this was his first list he sent me. And I thought about giving him a tactical brigade list, and but I ended up changing my mind at the last second based off some of the other stuff he owned. So Garth's first list was a good old Warhorde list. He did say when we were chatting that his alternatives was that he was considering playing a Death Guard or a Demons list. So that was another thing he was considering. I'm looking at his list. Okay, yeah, this is his original list. So I was considering a tactical brigade list for him, but I don't think there's a ton of diversity in tactical brigade right now for me to suggest anything other than what I've shown in videos and what we've actually portrayed on the shown with results on stream. And he's from the UK TC, so I feel like that's even more limited on what he could do. And so he was saying something like, well, what if I just do big bricks? What I will say is, again, like I've told other people before, whenever I look at these, if the person is kind of already a channel member, chances are you watch the videos and we agree on some things and you know some of the tactics. So we're going to talk about the good things about his list, some things that I thought that I wasn't necessarily wanting him to really bring, and because of what I seen when he was saying, well, I like big stuff, I like monsters, I like, you know, whatever, maybe a little bit of ease of play here and time efficiency. There is a fun suggestion here. So this is a little bit of expressing I like your list, but we'll talk about what might hit miss with it. So we have a beast boss with Follow Me, lads. Fantastic. Love that already right off the bat because I have a feeling it's going on 20 snaggers. Let's go. He has a Gazgul Thraka, a Pain Boy, and a War Boss, and then another War Boss. A 20-man unit of boys alongside the 20-man units of Snaggers. 2 trucks, 1 battle wagon, followed by a second battle wagon. So he has 2 battle wagons and 2 trucks. 2 flash kits, 1 Gretchen unit, 1 2-man unit of Mega Knobs, 2 5-man units of Knobs with claws, and then 2 Stormboy units. Boom. That's his list. So very different to some of the other style of Warhorde lists. And when we were looking at what he was saying he owned, it wasn't necessarily like the you know, threat saturation, MSU spammy style of list. So he went for what I consider a traditional Ork list, a classic Ork list of bringing mobs, play the mid table, live off Gaz's aura, and then make contact with both these bricks. So if Garth, you watch this and you decide, well, I really, really love this archetype style, even though you said you didn't remember, we spoke, guys. He said he didn't really care to keep this archetype. I'm just giving him credit for how much I do like this archetype because this is, in fact, my style. And if you're someone watching this, I do think 20 Snagas is pretty awesome at a decreased cost to just simply bringing 2 20-man units of boys. Because this style has already been quite efficient, especially in the UKTC, because those 20-man units, one of them in a wagon can always move up to their natural expansive objective, and then the other 20-man unit can always play the central objective, and then just run through the terrain and right. So it's very much like, well, I'll trade with you a couple knob units and some flash kit units with my trucks on the perimeters, and then when it's go turn, I'm in the just swamp the middle of the field with mobs of boys that have feel no pains and then gas and get stuck in with proper like tactics. So I actually totally think this is list as its core on the UKTC works absolutely fine. The pros to this list is bunch of OC. The lists aren't necessarily the meta isn't necessarily tuned for killing a bunch of mobs. And it's a classic for how orcs win games. I do feel like the increase on boys is kind of annoying. And knobs don't really have as many ideal targets anymore in the meta, and everything's pretty tough, yet can kind of, without unintentionally, cleave through mobs anyways. So because I'm familiar with this crazy get, and I was feeling kind of bold today, I did initially go, well, maybe we'll do a tactical brigade list. So Garth, if you're watching this, good old fashioned tactical brigade list that we've shown in the past, you could totally end up running as well, like recently that we've run, which is 2 10-man units of Snagas with 2 beast bosses, 2 to 3 shock attack guns, 2 of them with your 2 tank buster units, various trucks, so on and so forth. And that's pretty much the foundation of that list in the 10 flash kits and the Big Mac and Mega Armor. That was totally fine. But I did have an idea for just kind of going all out for you guys who are here. And the reason I had this fun thing is, 1, because I trust Garth, but 2 is because where the meta currently is with Knights, with Death Guard, with all these really funky, really strong, damaging armies that are also kind of making the meta feel a little stinky and a little poo-pooey, and not so exciting. I wanted to give some excitement to Garth because he's considering jumping to demons or to to what was this other army he was trying to say he was going to play? Demons or what's the world lead? Oh, Death Guard. So he was thinking about playing Death Guard. So I was like, I don't really want him to play that, and I kind of want to give it kind of fun list. So as for the answer to the chat, because people are asking me, so I announced these, and generally, so I guess I didn't do as good of a job this time, but I'll be better. Announce these that I do fix my list for the channel members, and they pre-submit them, and then in that regard, I'm able to have a conversation with the lads about their preferences, their style, what terrains they're playing on, what missions they're going to usually play sometimes if they're aware of it. And then adjust the fix my list to what they actually own instead of just advising what I think is meditated. So yeah, that's just me. And so I might get to someone else's list here today just because the chat's live and we're popping right now. So I might end up getting to it in real time and adjust it a little bit. But we'll just see how that goes. I'm also considering just doing a stream after this, busting out the paint camera and just painting and letting you guys look at my little fat stubby fingers while I try to paint some stuff up. So let me know what you guys think about that. And this is live, so I'm reading what you guys say in real time. Feel free to laugh at me or anything like that when I do these fix my list or what your critiques are, because you won't hurt my feelings. I'm super confident with how I love to play orcs and how crazy we all are and how we all disagree and also agree is the very fun part about being an orc player. Is like we're supposed to disagree, guys, supposed to butt heads and knock each other's teeth out. So let's move to Garth's suggested wall tactics list, because I decided to go completely to the other side of this gets brain. And I did it. I decided to make him a Big Mac, you guys. I made him a Big Mac in the Dread Mom. I did it. I did. Now, some people may be thinking, why tactics, why would you do such a thing? This get wants trying to win games. Why would you advise a Stompa? This can't be real. And I'm just saying, trust me, Gits. Trust me. And I thought this out. Mind you, I'm fully aware he's playing on the UKTC terrain. Mind you, this Git was considering playing Death Guard or Demons. So in this case, I'm actually picking a list that I think is going to crump his Death Guard and Demons. And I'm still putting in tools that I think are going to work in the UKTC layout for how they're trying to lay it out. And I went based off what he actually owned, because I didn't want to advise too many things that he didn't own or that he didn't have to pay. So then have to paint up. So mind you, I did think about a couple things here. One, if you wanted to play Tactical Brigade, totally just copy the list that we've already been showing to a certain degree, because those are quite efficient and what I would advise and what I have been advising for like 6 months. So that's not going to surprise him. Two, his current list was already quite efficient. I loved making contact on a Warhorde with double big mobs of boys, but the Stampa has been slept on and the Stampa has been winning games, and I still incorporated a 20-man unit of boys on his list because I had faith in it. Now, I did do an after-action report, so he can actually watch how I played this in real time and how I would play it to a certain degree, and you guys can too. But nonetheless, we're going to just break down the list real quick. So I have a Big Mac, the new Big Mac, one, because I like him, and two, because I wanted to press the button. Now, there are arguments to make points on this list, so you can do a war boss or some other variation of character, but it worked out perfectly that a Big Mac left just enough points on here. Then we have a Big Mac with shock attack gun with Get Finder goggles. That's because he's going with the Ludabrick. Now, Garth did have tank busters, and I have played tank busters in Dread Mob. They get the button and all that. The unit's so expensive, and you're still just hitting on 5, so it's not diverse enough to kill elite infantry, so I'm not confident in advising that necessarily in Dread Mob, at least not in this archetype that I'm showing right now. So he does have some tank busters. I actually intentionally didn't put them on the list, even though I did consider them. I know, right? Stunning. And the Gift Finder goggles is one, because you auto mandatory take it, and two, I picked the shock attack gun because I'm very much looking for that very disgusting Overwatch. Just simply choosing lethal and then just slamming that -4 AP, ignoring cover through whatever is moving around the middle of the battlefield, or staging up, trying to stage up or move whatever on objectives. And it might actually be my reserved unit too, keep in mind. Then we have, because I've shown UKTC, man, I wish I had the pack for that, because if I could show you guys, if you played UKTC map, you know they have some giant lanes and some big old open pockets to get some interesting lines of fire. So you might put that Ludabrick in reserve or just be staged up between the big LPs. So that was taken into consideration as well. It can also be stored inside of one of these transport walkers. Then we have 2 mechs. One mech, one's for the Stampa, and then one is for the Morkanat. We have 2 units of boys, but one is a 20-man and then one's a 10-man. Now, what I will say is I exactly had 40 points left over when I didn't have the boys on this list, and I had 3 units of Gretchen on this list. So personally, if I could, I would advise you go up to 40 Gretchen, but I think you only own 30. So because you only own 30, I dropped one of those Gretchen units and I made it another boy unit. If you're looking at this, I always say that I think you want like 40 Gretchen minimum, maybe 50 for your Dread Mob list. So boom, that's where it is. That's why the boys are in there, the 10-man unit. Totally fine if you drop them and you bring just Gretchen, but ultimately you might be happy with more boys. One truck, because he showed, at least when he wrote me, his list was kind of funny because he wrote stuff that he had, but he also put other stuff. So he owns 3 trucks. You don't have to put a truck necessarily on this list, but because I did want a little bit of staging for one of these mobile units, and for the either for the Ludas, or if you just want to use it for the boys, the truck and the boys are totally optional, that you can drop them if you want more punching power or a different version of DACA, like some flash kits or something. But I wanted more speed and staging, that way I can get over to different objectives or parts of the field, because when we have the Stampa and the Morkanat, they're doing like playing a duo version of the mid table here. He does have a unit of Def Copters that I fit on the list because I wanted to have some more just oddly tough stuff. So his War Bikers are kind of tough, his Def Copters are kind of tough. Then he has all his anti-tank kind of tied up in the his walkers, and then his truck as well is oddly tough. Everything else is just little trash mobs of boys and stuff, right? Now, when you play this, you are playing the Morkanat over the Gorkanat because I want that 5-up invuln. I want that 5-up invuln right off the bat early. Morkanaut's going out, playing somewhat aggressively, because whatever's killing the Morkanaut is getting auto-deleted by the Stampa, and then you've just lost one more of those anti-walker, anti-tantanic kind of tools that you can have. Now, I have played this list with a Gorkanaut and a Morkanaut. I feel like the Gorkanaut is totally cool, and he can definitely have like utility, especially into like demons, for example. Really good utility because of his volume. But he's just too squishy, and you end up just trying to play him too defensively. And I'm already just trying to take care of the Stampa. When you're playing a Stampa list, it's very about managing the Stampa's life, the range, the space around him, and the CP you're using into him. So the Morkanaut is another target for if there's a turn where the Stampa has no viable targets, the Morkanaut can go off, or the Ludus can go off and end up being a little bit more of a subject for investment there. And then a Warbiker unit, like I said, for just scoring and creating more space. So if there could be anything I'd suggest here is more stuff. Like if he had more Gretchen, he could do that, or he could drop a truck based off what he owned, but he was limited. He only had 3 bikes that were not painted. So I couldn't advise too many bikes. He only had 1 Def Copter unit, and he was limited on the Gretchen as well. So if he decided to flip to Tactical Brigade because he wanted a different version of DACA, that's totally fine. You guys know how the Tactical Brigade lists work. But as for the actual ability of this list to win games on UKTC team, I think this works because of the fact that you can bully the mid-table and or primary with either your 20-man unit of boys or these 2 Titanic guys is a big deal, right? It's once you call the wand, the 20-man unit boys move up, and the Morkanaut move up, and all the Gretchen, and you start kind of deleting stuff. The Stampa, and then later in the game, just kind of walks into the middle and keeps going. So I would suggest that if you're playing this and you're bringing more stuff, because a lot of the time on the UKTC team, it might be that your Morkanaut will actually move towards your natural expansion in a safe way. That's where the Ludus being inside or the boys being inside was taken into consideration, or you having a truck to assist, and the Morkanaut playing kind of both edges of the game. So mind you, I don't have UKTC turn that I can actually play on and use. So I might be over exaggerating like how much coverage this can have. If that's the case, then you would drop the truck and one of the boys units to bring more stuff, or you would drop the 20-man unit as a whole. But I didn't want to consider like a Death Dread and stuff like that. So Garth, you let me know what you think, because he was saying he plays Dread Mob, he plays Tactical, and he plays Warhorde. So I thought his Warhorde list was fine, where he likes to run mobs with boys from what we talked about. So I didn't really feel like adjusting that too much because that already had a lot of suggestions I made in the past. So no reason to really gut that kind of list. Then the Tactical Brigades lists are very like same nowadays, you guys. As you guys know, GW really messed up the rules, changed like the orders, how they work. So I wasn't finding anything too interesting to change out based off what he owned and what's already good in that detachment. Like he had 12 tank busters and some Ludas, shock attack guns, beast bosses. It's like, okay, whatever. So in this case, we win Stampa. I think he can totally end up bullying so many matchups. If you've actually looked through our playlists and our lives, and our videos, you can see that there's been Stampas that have done good on UKTC, WTC, and GW. It really just comes down to you knowing how to manage the Stampa. So watch our content for that. And thank you to this kid. Now, Garth, we look out for you and your great wall. The 20-man unit of boys isn't something I always suggest, but I actually have faith in you, Garth, because you love them mobs of boys. Now, guys, we're going to try in real time to see what I can do for this git who wanted to submit a list while we're here in real time. So let me know what you guys think right now in chat while we're talking freely. But shout out to my boy Arcane Asylum, 10 wall tactic memberships. Whoa, let's go, you get. Thank you very much for the support. Very, very generous of you, and it means a lot. Thank you very much for that. You guys let me know how the after action report did and how it could be better, and what you guys think about this, how you could be on Fix Your Next list next. Arcane was going to be on it himself, so thank you. That's very generous of you to open it up for other people. But he ended up being like, well, I got to go to do some other stuff, so I don't need your war boss. But next time you let me know, Arcane, we're going to get your list fixed up, and let's see what you can do as well. Very excited. Thank you. Very humbling. And I'll keep this going for you, Git, since you were so generous and supportive. So let's get some war bosses in chat for our Git Arcane Asylum. So So thank you. Did you just put a runt in response? Arcane put a runt in response. Got some gets asking about the Discord link. It should be in the description and in the community tab, all over the actual YouTube. Yeah, if you don't find it, Fedora, I'm surprised because it should be on all of those. If it's not working, sometimes you just got to reset it because it's so weird how that kind of works and how it doesn't work. But yeah, we have put it in all of our socials and the description and socials and everything like that. Yeah, I did get you with one of your first Fix My List. Yes, I did. That's why shout out to the other gets who asked about Fix My List. You know, I was intentionally looking for new people that haven't done it, which is why I was happy to get it with Garth and Gaspacho. Garth actually came in last minute. So Garth, if I didn't do you, I didn't do you justice, let me know. But yeah, so thank you for you guys. And you know what? I realized from this video that I should have promoted a little bit more because clearly some of the members didn't realize it. And that kind of sucks. And that kind of unfortunate because I could have seen what you guys got to say. So I'll get better at it. So in real time, I don't think I can show our boy's list here, but I'll read off his list and what I think about it. I don't even know if it needs to be fixed, but he said, he said he's been playing with this Warhorde list. He has a Beast Boss, Super Cyborg Body, Death Killer Wartrike, Gazgul Traka, a Mazrog, a War Boss, and then Zagra. 1 10-man unit of Snagas, 2 10-man units of Boys, 2 Trucks, a Death Dread, 2 Gretchen, Kill Rig, Killer Cans, Luda, Megana, Mech Gun, Stormboy, War Boss, War Biker. Okay. You know what? I think you hit me up so we can this is why I so you guys can see in real time. This is why I Fix My List is good for if I actually own, like, see your what you actually own, so I can give proper advice. What I will say without seeing anything like on your actual full collection is we can see that your list is not fully fleshed out yet on like efficient data sheets for the detachment. And when you're playing in Warhorde, you might have to lean more into just redundant, efficient units for this detachment that are taking advantage of the keywords, of the stat check saturation, of the volume of punches that you would need to actually take advantage of the detachment rule and the strats. So something like a Mech Gun, something like a killer can unit, and a Death Dread, and even the Ludas, I would say, not ideal with a single kill rig as well. If you watch some of our other videos when we talk about like what happens when you bring a kill rig and how you're going to bring it, and you know, a Transport 101 video when I talked about like a wagon versus one kill rig versus saturation, this is one of those things where you have too many things in your army that are able to be just selectively chewed out and killed, and then the enemy can deal with you as they will once they've kind of dealt with the problematic unit. Also, you're dealing with the Zagra and you only have 10 Gretchen on them. Now, I've heard of it in theory, but I've never seen it in practical use for 20 Gretchen. So some quick changes would be, if this is the limit of your collection, and you can DM me, we'll chat a little bit. If this is the limit of your collection, they're totally fine with downsizing some of your games to 1,500 points or 1,000 points while you just get more reps in for the basics and fill out your collection instead of like forcing a 2K game with inefficient rules and people have efficient lists and then they can just table you all the time, because then it gets kind of feels badsy, and Orks already hard enough. Second would be since I don't really own, second would be upgrading Zod's unit to be full right there. And these, if I don't know what else you don't own, something like Killicans don't really have a spot on there, and the kill mech guns. So dropping those and just bringing knobs, breaker boys, a different, even a war boss with boys might even be a little bit more valuable in that case. And so for that, and more another kill rig. So there's a lot of stuff that you can kind of lean and tweak into. But without fully having all of the access to everything is kind of hard, and I don't know if I can do that live, but it does look like you can you know, you still have a lot of growing to do, which is the positive to all of this, right? Which is the positive to this. So thank you very much to that. Let's see what the chat's saying here too. What you guys are saying, chat. Put the list I took to Richmond Open best orcs. What I plan to take Nova this list this year. You put the chat. You put it in the Discord, or where did you put it? Let me know. I think the reason a lot of orcs are trying other factions is because you're normally getting wiped. Any advice on making orc list more tanky? Redundancy, but also not having all your assets exposed. Like if you just, like we were talking about 5 trucks earlier, if you're bringing like 5 trucks, then that means someone's always getting clipped. Someone's always getting dissected and losing such. It's not that you're not going to lose things as orcs, because you're always going to lose stuff. Nothing's more tanky. What it is that you have just enough stuff at cheap point cost and values. Well, it's getting harder nowadays, but something like flash kits, that's why it's so beloved, or boys or snaggas, which are good for their costs and their battle line. The idea is that it generally takes just a little bit more than the enemy wants to really clean them out. So if you're an orc player and you're spoon feeding the enemy 2 units at a time every turn, so you're going like, well, turn 1, I'm going to give you a Storm Boy, and then I'm going to put a Grat unit forward. I'm going to stand on this objective, and I'm going to do area denial. Well, the enemy loves that. They're like, cool, bro. I'll just slap that up. Thank you for those 2 units real quick. I didn't lose anything. Do that again for me, please. And then the orc player's like, I guess I'm going to put a Warbiker unit out. I'm going to push a truck forward and try to stage your turn. And then they get it popped and they get that stuff cleaned up. And the orc player's like, no, I got a wall. Right? And so it's not that your stuff is going to get tougher necessarily, because you're not really tougher. What it is you controlling the mid-table, the staging space. That's why you either want infiltrators or you want fast units that can run out and punch you first. These are also I push for sometimes for Zods, for example, or war bikers or Death Killer War Trike. It could be annoying and start interacting with the enemy. The next thing is when you do start to make your presence known on the battlefield and exposing assets, you're giving a saturation of assets so the enemy can't really kill them all. But you're also not so reckless that you're allowing something like a Space Marine army to combine arms you, where they're going to pop a truck and then charge the assets inside. So there's very much I might just simply, if it's a World Eaters, disembark the stuff from my trucks, push my trucks forward, turn them sideways, put Storm Boys next to them, push them forward, and then be prepared for when they run up and start shooting or punching some of those assets, then now I can countercharge with my boys instead of just standing in my truck, pushing my truck forward to getting chucked. So it's how you use your tools when they're getting exposed and how you're letting them be interacted with is the durability. You should have so many of them that they don't have enough activations and dice to clean everything up, and you can continue momentum. So don't just spoon feed people, because this is where orc players have so much issues. They're like, I'm not durable enough. When we're talking about our boy Monday's list right here, who was saying that we might see in the future here and like how we're going to fix his list, he has 1 kill rig on the list. I can't tell you a trick to make your kill rig more tough. What I can do is bring another kill rig and a battle wagon, and now the enemy is generally going to have just enough stuff to kill one of those things and maybe damage the other one. Not to mention, you probably have 2 trucks on the list or a truck or 2 on the list. So you're bringing more of the same. That's why if you see like a bully pain boy what we call pain wall for bully boys, there's not a lot of trucks on that list or tough transports. What there is generally is mega knobs coming out of trucks or with mega mech armored bosses, so they have 4 up invul in the shooting, and then they have squig hog boys following around them, or they have bricks of boys. The idea is everything has a feel no pain, everything's a solid moderate threshold of toughness, and everything has an invul. That's the kind of toughness you can also run into if you want stats. So there's stats, and I bring a lot of cheap trucks, vehicles of the same kind of require the same profiles with anti-tank, or that can be elite infantry / squig / stuff like that, or I bring 120 bodies of T5. So it's not like I have this I make this thing hard to kill. It's more of I have all these things that are just hard enough to kill that you'll run out of activations before they're completely dead. So yeah, that's what's up with that. Because yeah, orc players always have that. They're like, I want to be tough too, and it's like you're not. What you can be though is I put so many threats towards you that you as an orc player might know man, I really hope he doesn't kill this truck right here, but he might target just your kill rig. And you're like, oh, whatever. I was just going to disembark guys anyways. And it takes all the anti-tanks to kill the kill rig, and sometimes the kill rig just survives. And then you're also advancing grots up the field behind all that stuff, so no one's really targeting the grots, and the grots have now gotten to the primary, and they're just high enough. Like, it's so hilarious how orcs just kind of work, and it makes me excited. Now, let me see what the poll actually said, if you guys like me or not. No, I'm just kidding. Let me see what the poll actually said, because I was looking at this, so I might have to get to this. What did the poll say? The poll said, so if you guys don't know, I'm at the 50-minute mark, so let's see what the poll said. It said, more community streams or hobby streams, because I did want to know. I was like, should I just put on the normal content I do and just talk to you guys and try to learn you something and then disappear? And it says, it seems like you guys are saying we should do more hobby streams, community streams. At least a good 25% of you said get on with the tactics, so you don't want to see my face. No, I'm just kidding. No, but that's good that you're saying that, because we are actually making those too. And then after action reports, only 8. Okay, so that's little after action report. That's good to know for the future. So okay, that's good to know. So I'm cool with that, because tactic videos and after action reports kind of overlap in like the attention. So more community streams means that I can do more of those tactic videos and still have a good time too. So what's up, Wicked Joe? 21 membership flex. Whoa! So Joe's actually up here in the area, local Midwest. What's up, near Chicago? And me and Joe are gonna get stuck in and fight. He's gonna borrow some of my orcs, and then whatever's left over, I'll make an army out of that and crump them and knock some teeth out. So I look forward to seeing you, Joe. Thank you for that. And for the 21, that's crazy. 21 months. I think the channel is only like 24, 25 months old, or something silly like that. So Joe's been here, I think, since we were first able to even get members. For it to be that old, you pretty much had to have been here since the start. So shout out to you, Joe, because you have been here since the start. Whoa, it's always fighting Fedora. Some of you guys have been here since like the beginning. Brandon fighting Fedora, Arcane, Jank. Shout out to Jank. I love that get. You know, a lot of you guys have been here since the beginning, and then some of you guys are just getting here, but you're making your presences known. So I appreciate that too. Very exciting to see. We're only like 2 years into this, guys, if you didn't know. We're like 2 years into this. Literally, I was just some dude, and one day I was like, man, I'm really tired of these really shallow opinions of orcs. I'm just going to make my own channel now. And that's really how it started. It was like, man, there's nowhere to talk to orc players, no like centralized orc community. It's either like a big disparity between the hardcores and the painters and the hobbyists, and I kind of wanted to bring like something right there, moderate in between. So thanks to all you guys, where I wanted them to like get fun orc coverage and like the respectable way of like, hey, I know exactly what's going on with the meta and competitive play, but I just choose to have fun with it and still play a more versatile, diverse style of orcs. And so this seems to be working, and I appreciate all the support, because I think orcs get slept on, because dude, we have so much more depth, and like when I hear World Eater players or Leagues of Voltan players like and Emperor's Children, they're like, I need more stuff. Like, I have such a shallow conex. I'm like, you picked like a sub faction to a sub faction as your army, bro. Like, that was on you. Like, you know, this is a full-fledged, drawn out, deep codex. Very important to the lore. Important to some of the Imperial like matchups and rivalries. So being an orc feels great when you get into the lore, even, and to the thematic nature of it, of our codex and everything. So we can be grateful in those times as well, orc players, when it's like, yeah, we might not have all the rules and all the coolest models and you know, the what's it called, gosh, plot armor, right, as other detachments and factions, but like Necrons or Eldar, but we do just have a very important place in the hobby as a whole, and in the universe of 40K as a whole, where it's like, guys, be proud, because no one else has this depth of codex and army as us, and we might be in a weird spot right now, but in the reality, the fact that we're even getting these results and ability to win games while GW has literally had their foot on our necks trying to nerf us nonstop. They're literally doing everything other than Exterminatus to us, and we're still like, nah, we'll win games. It's good. No, we'll still win events. It's cool. It's cool. Give us just a little bit. We'll just pop some spores all over the field, and boom, we'll start getting some competitive wins all day, baby. So I'm excited to see it. You guys should be too. So you know what? I might button this up and start a community stream if there's anybody still out there that's awake. If I don't, then it means that I didn't get my stuff set up. But honestly, I might end it right here and go ahead and start getting some stuff together to stream and paint to whoever has the paint left, because I might do some Breaker Boys or some Mega Knobs or something real quick. Not a great painter, but it's okay. I just got to put paint colors. Other than that, and Ork Meta is a roller coaster. Yes, it is. Other than that, you guys, let me know more of what you want to see. Thanks for participating in the poll. We got you guys letting me know that you guys are totally on board for community streams and hobby streams, so I'll be sure to do more of those. And other than that, get some more tactics lists in. So with that being said, there's only one thing to keep in mind: is don't cross our wall, because we'll knock your teeth out. And yeah, go ahead and watch those after action reports. Let me know what you think, because they suck right now, but they will rise with the green tide.